The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaru Productions. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tokutalk. Marcus and Jacob here to discuss 10 years after and post-canon appearances.
Yes. So
From, are we talking specifically Rider, Sentai, or just like Toku in general?
sort of Toku in general, but the focus is going to be on Sentai because it happens the most.
It happens the most, yes.
Yeah. So I do want to bring in, we can do versus movies for both series. And 10 years after are much more of a Sentai thing, especially. But I do want to talk about just what we think about them. Seeing these characters come back, in Deca Ranger's case several times, the Hurricane case several times.
And Ultraman, like, always and forever.
Seeing them come back after their show has ended and seeing their growth and seeing how the character has evolved over time. I think, obviously, the one that I will always talk about first is Deca Ranger because their 20th anniversary is coming up next year, so just expect to see a movie about that. I love when characters come back. I think it shows, especially if they come back more than once, because it seems like at that point it's out of their contract. It's something that they wanted to do. So I end up appreciating that when actors want to come back that often.
They also have to work, so
yeah,
I assume that's part of it. But when it's a role that you inhabit for an entire year, like that's your job for a year.
Yeah.
If you book a lead role in a Toku show like this. So, like every day or, at least once a week, you've got like fight rehearsals, you've got, going over your lines, you're meeting up with your other actors, you hope that you have good chemistry with because you're going to be living with them for a year, essentially, at least once a week. And to see when you have actors that show, whether it's in a show like Okaiger or in a 10 years after special like in Deca Ranger or
20 years after special like Hurricane
or Hurricaneger. Was one that we watched in college, and you see that like you can just tell by looking at it, this was a person who loves what they do and wants to be here.
Yeah,
they're not just here to collect a paycheck; they're here because I want to be a part of this and help celebrate it and keep it alive.
Yeah, because you can definitely see that more post versus. This is something that really only happens with like a 10 years or 5 years after. I say Hurricane Ranger, Deca Ranger the most because they have come back the most outside of Ultraman. We'll see them at least once a year in something like a post or because they posted that picture of like the entire team getting back together on Twitter last year. One of the main three did with the banners, like their symbol and their color and stuff.
That's cool.
And then next thing you know, like a month later, we got an announcement for 20 years after.
That might have been the meeting. That might have been like, let's finalize a schedule. Let's see if we can make this work.
And so I'm really just expecting Deca Ranger to do that next year. Or within like next couple of months. But I love when they come back. It just shows so much appreciation. And I love seeing how these characters have evolved. Like you can see in Deca Ranger versus Magi Ranger, like, there was the wedding between Pink and Green.
Yeah.
And now I believe they're married as of a Space Squad.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. And, Jasmine has a child.
Yeah, she's married, has a kid.
Yeah. And we'll end up, I'm really hoping that they end up coming back next year because
how is Bond doing off in space?
Yeah,
and whatever Blue is off.
Yeah.
Doing his own thing. Maybe he and Red have teamed up again. Out there in the cosmos solving crimes.
Deca Break going back to his special squadron, but now he's like the head. I think he took Donkey's spot or something. Even though Donkey's always there along with Swan. So I'm really hoping that we see them again come next year to see where else have your characters gone post Space Squad.
And you bring up a good point of seeing where a character has gone because I feel so little that doesn't happen. That seems to be the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah.
When it happens, we really notice it and it's great.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, this happens more so in Ultraman, I think, than anything else, where it's like, here's this person. They're back. They don't really do anything, but they're there.
Here's the original Ultraman actor. Here's
them. They're back. They fight a monster and they do a finisher. It's like when if I could make a wrestling analogy, it's like this happened a lot. I don't know that it happens much anymore because I've kind of fallen off with it. But like in the early 2000s, this happened a lot. Early, late 2000s, where like we would bring back a retired wrestler. They'd bring some jobber out. The old dude would do his finisher, and he would win the match. And like that was it.
I remember Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair doing that a lot.
Them less so in like the early 2000s, but like, you know, you bring back, for example, what was one?
The Ultimate Warrior.
No, that didn't happen for a long time. He came back to WWE and then died the next day, so that didn't go so well. I was thinking more, I think like Kamala the Ugandan Giant is probably an example of that, or Hacksaw Jim Duggan was another example of that. But like, yeah, like old dude does a finisher matches, as I like to call them. You bring him out, it's like, oh hey, it's that guy your dad recognizes. Let him do a thing, and then the crowd goes nuts.
Very that. Although I think with Ultra, it's a little bit different because the actors will still come back, and it's very different when there's like that show came out in 1966, and you still see the original Ultraman actor coming back 60 years later.
Yeah,
every once in a while. That's a life.
That's your grandpa's Ultraman.
That's your
probably quite literally.
In some cases,
who knows? But yeah, it's always great if you bring a character back. Make sure you give them something to do. Yeah,
don't just make them show up like they do in some verses.
I mean, like one of my favorite examples of like, you know, the previous team coming back is the Gokaiger Goseiger movie.
Great.
I think one of the best because, you know, it's great to see the Goseigers again because they're good characters, but also the way they pair them up with their Gokaiger counterparts as they are spread about across different, you know, dimensions and times and whatnot, as they are subject to the villain's plans, and seeing them all play off each other is great. Everyone's got something to do. The cast gels really well. That's, I think, one of the best examples.
That's one of those things that's really helped by the writer. But I think another thing in that movie is the fact that you got Deca Pink, Kenji Ova, Keiichi Wada.
They don't show up for... Yeah, they're because it's that analog with like the salaryman who's like really depressed and like experiencing trouble at work, and they help him out. It's good stuff.
I think it's one of those things that makes Gokaiger really special because it's so encompassing of just Sentai as a whole and how many actors came back because of the earthquake. Like you got to see Yellow Lion, who we ended up seeing a couple years after that, Ghost as the dad. Terrible show, yes, but we got to see him again, and that's what matters.
Time Yellow learning that he has a son,
creating his own goddamn bloodline. Tautology is out here, but. Keiichi Wada coming back again in the show proper and fighting, by the way. Throwing all of the hands. He had 180 hands, one for everybody. All the degrees in front of him, 180. So just seeing him do
360.
Yeah.
Just all the way around.
He had hands for everybody in his immediate vicinity. He was pissed off. Everybody's getting punched. I just
punches off screen. Punch comes from the other side of the screen.
That's it all over again.
Yes,
but I just really loved. I think for me, is something with the time span.
Yeah.
From the last time they showed up, so I really, I'm sort of excluding verses in this case, but the last time they showed up and the next time they show up, like it's different. Say this year with Kaito because there was no year in between the next time we saw him. We saw him in the last episode of Zenkaiger, and we saw him in the first episode of Dawn Brothers. And he's been there every couple episodes or so in Dawn Brothers since. So it's different.
But he's also playing a different character.
We don't really know yet.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll find out. That might just end up being
in our review. So stay tuned for that.
Or Dawn Bros.
Although it might have come out by the time we post this video, but who knows?
Yeah.
Either way, we will have our answers.
Maybe.
We will see.
Yeah.
But
I think time is the thing that just makes it. Time. Part makes the heart grow fonder, and all
absence
that.
makes the heart grow fonder.
Yes, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and that it.
Because you can't be nostalgic for something if it never goes away.
Yeah, it's why I think the cameos of Gokaiger are just so goddamn powerful. Because when was the last time we saw these people? When was the last time we saw Red Racer?
I was gonna bring up Red Racer, and here's another thing that I love. It's if you bring back someone and you can, if their show is like, say, a Car Ranger, where it's radically different than anything else, because Car Ranger is so much a parody with all the fourth wall breaks and all the general zaniness that happened in there, so that when his legend shift happens, he like sees it in front of him and he swats it away.
And then they transform into Turbo Ranger and they're like, that's not
And he's
us.
like, no, wrong Car Ranger. How dare you? This one. He like pulls the keys out. He's like, no, this.
I mean, when was the last time we've seen like any of the Mega Rangers?
Any of the Mega Rangers,
although, to
Yellow
be fair,
Lion.
we've heard Mega Blue's actor quite a bit because he is a voice actor for a lot of Toku stuff.
There you go. And I think, because we've talked about Sentai a lot, talked about Ultraman a little bit. When it comes to Rider,
it doesn't happen as often.
It doesn't happen as often. It'll happen in our team-up movies, our versus movies, but even then, it's never really executed in a way that makes me think, oh my goodness, this is like the greatest team-up I've ever seen. Usually, it's very surface level, like, oh, it's cool that these two characters are here. I think one of the best examples was the X-8 Ghost movie. The way the two of them interact and the way they deal with the plot of the movie and the big bad and everything.
And then the other riders come in.
Yeah, I think that's all handled well.
Except Guy.
And the other one that I think was handled well, I don't remember the name of it specifically, but it was the X-8 movie where they're in like the afterlife, and
the Kamen Sentai Go Rider.
Kamen Sentai Go Rider, thank you. Where we have all the writers who, not all of them, but like some of the writers who have passed away are there. Where it's like Blade, Baron is there, Momo, from Gaim is there as well, and that it's like, I like the setting of like the abandoned fairground. Settings like that are usually really cool because it's like you're not supposed to be there, and just like seeing empty carnivals.
When was the last time we saw another Agito?
And amusement park, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, the other Agito.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good one, just like especially seeing that actor come back.
But yeah, like seeing those actors, all their characters have died, and seeing the way they were come back and the way that they were used, especially the ending when Crazy Godman.
Dan Masamune is basically a staple for every year. You'll see him at least once a year now.
When he comes back and is like, at last my plan to destroy all of reality, and then they're like, but you messed up, because when the Joker is the last undead, reality is destroyed, so all his work is undone, and he has one of the best flip outs I've ever seen. Just like one of the most like sore loser, I'm going to throw a tantrum flip outs I've ever seen a Rider villain do. And it's great.
This is in between him coming back in show.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the thing that really just makes it that much better. He just came up with something like with the Others, Kamen Rider Others, that's happening right now.
Oh.
He's in that. Along with Oja.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Cool.
And a couple other ones.
Well, good to see him getting the work. Is there anything else that really springs to mind?
Not really, because it doesn't happen that often with Power Rangers. I mean, even in the awful thing that was Super Mega Force, I think the only one that really came back. I mean, you had Casey from Jungle Fury there, and then you had the cameos at the end that were like nothing. So I think when they do like a 10 years after or something, it's always just a little more impactful because they had something to do specifically that was theirs. Like, this is their story. It's not just a cameo thing. And I think that's what made Gokaiger successful, because it was just like, we had a whole episode. Like, even the Kamen Ranger episode where they got the greater power of the Kamen Rangers, Ninja White only shows up at the end of that, but it's something that she's speaking directly to the camera for. And we all know how often Ninja Red and pretty much everybody in that cast, because they just got together not that long ago, will show up in something.
Ninja White's cameo in Gokaiger is also... I think another great example of it being so unique to that character, where she is the ninja in the shadows off in the distance, and she just, like disappears in like a cloud of, I think it's like sparkles or something, but like... And
then her actress showed not that long ago in Hammy's movie from Q-Ranger.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she shows up pretty much every once in a while, although I think she's like a preschool teacher now.
Oh, wow.
But she'll show up in just Sentai, just randomly.
Shows up when it's summer break and she can get away for a bit, I guess.
Yeah, she'll just show up in a show. And I love that for her. And seeing like cameos of the others, like Pink 5, Yellow 4, Change Mermaid, and I think it was Change Mermaid and Change Phoenix, Lupat, because they showed up at the end of the show in the cafe. They were served by Kyrie. They were like watching all the news feed and stuff. Mm-hmm. I just really like when people show up, especially as the same character, a while later, because I just like seeing where'd you go? How has your life been?
Would you also lump into this category, since you kind of brought it up with Lupat just now, actors returning? Because we've talked a lot about like the character returning, with the same actor. What about the actor returning but in a different role?
Love it.
Love it.
Love to see it.
One that I think we need to bring up is
Kyoryuger, the dad and the mom being like Denzi Black, and I think Denzi or Dinah.
That's an example. I was gonna bring up Hurricaneger, where everyone's showing up as Shurikenger. Where we had Kenji Oba, we had
Daigo's actor.
Daigo show up, and then at the end, like that end scene in the cafe where all the Shurikenger actors are there, but they're civilian people. They're not possessed by Shurikenger anymore, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's you!" And they're like, "Who are you? Get away from me!" And that was a great moment. And we, because like Daigo did his Dairanger morphing pose when he turned into Shurikenger, and that was great.
I don't think it was Mega Silver. I think it might have been Mega Black that showed up as one of the Shurikenger. Because they all did their pose, and I think Kenji Oba did Gavin. He didn't do any of his other characters.
Yeah.
Gavin's transformation sequence.
He's got so many to choose from.
He does have 3. And I think that's one of those things where Kenji Oba is he's such a special case. Mm-hmm. It's like him and Magiello. We'll
Mr. Super Sentai,
yeah.
as we've called them.
They are. That's their titles now.
Yeah.
They're the Mr. Super Sentai, so they keep showing up every once in a while. Just in show.
One of the best examples being when the 3 Kenji Obas showed up at the end of the
Gavin movie.
And there was that, and also I think it was the
Jeep.
The Jeep, but also I think it's the Gokaiger Gavin movie.
Yeah, that's the Gokaiger Gavin movie.
It was that, because when the 3 Kenji Obas show up in the end, it's like they're the same person, and Silver is like, "What are you, idiots? They're totally different, you fools!"
The guy was not okay with
How do you not know this? They're completely different Kenji Obas.
It's such a good. I love a good visual gag like that. Mm-hmm. At least when they play multiple characters who have such big legacies, it's just one of those things that you can really only do with something like that.
Yeah,
and I love it. But yeah, I think we get in there.
There we go.
Let us know what you think about these. The 10 years after and the coming back so many years later in Toku. Let us know what you think about it in the comments below, and don't forget to join us next time. We'll see you later, everybody. Bye.
Thank you for watching.